Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News.
Boxing News, congratulations.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Thanks very much. How are you?
I'm good. Our Boxing News, I think, is very important, institutional. I've been reading Boxing News since I was about 9 years old. So hopefully you can continue its success and its legacy in the sport, Robert. A lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
There absolutely is. There is a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of heritage that we've taken on board, and obviously Matt Christie and his excellent team, Elliot and Nick Bond and what have you. They're still the Boxing News A team, but we're here to try and just bring it into the modern digital age, which is something as for somebody who's worked in sport and promotion over the years, and give it to you. Been a pioneer in some instances digitally. I'm sure you can understand.
Yeah, you've got to. We all love boxing, and we love boxing to the point where we could debate boxing and talk about boxing and the wrongs of boxing and the rights of boxing and the governing bodies and the broadcasters and the promoter. But not many people do. That's always been a problem with certain parts of the sport and at times Boxing News, where every fight fan, hardcore fight fan, wants to read the Boxing News. I mean, there was a stage where the Boxing News would get delivered. We used to have about 8 being delivered to the office. Different people had different subscriptions. And it was just, those days have died in terms of magazines coming through your door, really, I feel. And you have to get the mix right between satisfying the hardcore. It's a little bit like DAZN in the respect of every fight fan has DAZN. But in order to make it a big success, you have to reach out to the casual audience who like their boxing but dip in and out, but also to that audience that the hardcore don't really like. That. The hardcore don't like those people who just pop up for an AJ fight or for a Misfits card or something like that. But ultimately, that's the mass audience. So you've got to get the mix right between integrity for boxing and also understanding there is another world out there. I'm looking forward to it because I think you're going to become unpopular.
Become or?
No, become. Because at the moment, you're a bit of a saviour. But once they realise what you're about to do to the magazine, then we'll see.
Well, I didn't intend on opening the interview and talking about us, but I mean, Boxing News in its current form with Matt Christie and the guys who've done a fantastic job. All of the good things will remain about that, but as I say, we're here to kind of, as you've mentioned there very well, kind of reach other audiences who maybe don't subscribe to the magazine, maybe get them a subscription, and then obviously offer some other bits and pieces. But anyway, enough about that. Thanks very much, Eddie. I appreciate that. Good news for you yesterday, the announcement of the 3-year extension for DAZN in the US and Mexico. I guess one of the questions that I had for you is kind of over the last 5 years since the DAZN USA or Matchroom USA and the DAZN deal, what are your highlights?
I think when we started, it was really difficult. I made mistakes. I came in all guns blazing, and I think I don't regret that because that's me. I was myself. But no one wanted us in, obviously, and everyone stepped up their game, paid bigger purses, stopped us from signing talent, and did a good job in that respect. And I think the first couple of years were quite difficult. When the market readjusted and we realised that we just couldn't pay, and there was no value in some of the money we were paying to fighters, but we needed to make a dent. We needed to make an impression. We had to overpay fighters in the marketplace because no one knew what DAZN was. So we had to convince fighters to leave Fox or leave ESPN and come with me on DAZN. And to do that, you had to overpay them. When we started to build our profile and build a bit of recognition and the purses started to readjust, our business and DAZN's business became a lot more economical. So in terms of our business now in America, we're hugely profitable, and so are DAZN as a platform, which is something that is very difficult to do. So that's been a big success. Now, we've realigned the budget, we've become smarter, we're not hell-bent on having a real deep talent pool. We're a platform. We have a great talent pool, led by, of course, Canelo Alvarez, which has been fantastic for us. And when you say what have been your highlights, I look at the last 2 or 3 years of that 5 year. I mean, going back to the early stages, we had some great cards, and I remember when we did Hooker Ramirez in Dallas in a big unification and stuff like that. But I think specifically in the last couple of years, I look towards, of course, Joshua Ruiz sort of kick-started a lot of that profile of selling out MSG. But Canelo Alvarez against Callum Smith, Chocolatito 2, Estrada and Chocolatito 3. Canelo Alvarez against Billy Joe Saunders, breaking the record at Dallas Cowboys. Canelo against Bivol, Triple G. Have been big sort of linchpins doing the Gennady Golovkin fights in America as well. You know, having Demetrius Andre doing the World Middleweight Championship, and you know, now the emergence of Jesse Rodriguez and a lot of talent as well. So I feel like the last couple of years, the signing of Canelo Alvarez was massive for us. Massive. He's a pound for pound number one, biggest draw in boxing. And that's led off a lot in terms of our credibility in signing fighters, but also our credibility within the fan base. When I turn up at Guadalajara Airport, everyone knows me. I mean, they don't know my name. They just know me as Canelo's promoter.
Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, but that's important because we're trying to build that recognition, and we've done that within that, particularly within the Hispanic fan base in America. And I think we're in a really good position now. When I came here, I didn't really understand America, the fan base, the states, the cities, and now I really do. I get it. We're consistently selling out venues, and I think we're really well placed. And let's also not forget, it's a big thing having a 3-year commitment of a significant rights pot to be able to stage fights. We can now go to fighters, plan their future. Fighters that are with us know, okay, other promoters, do they have that security from a broadcaster? You know, so for us it was very important. And of course the addition of the Mexico events as well, which allow us to do probably 5 or 6 additional events that bring through younger talent, and particularly Mexican talent. We're in a great position to sign young Mexican fighters. You know, you've seen it with Mauricio Lara, you've seen it with Eduardo Nunes, obviously Pacheco in the US, and a lot of really good fighters. So I like our spot where we are right now.
You mentioned there about kind of when you went in there, you were very, very Eddie about your kind of your entrance into the US market. Any regrets? Is that the main one?
Shouldn't I be very Eddie? I mean, like, I just feel like if I go in and just, I'm snaky, yeah, hi, we just want to work with everybody. Everyone says that. It's a load of bollocks. You know, we want to work with people when it makes sense for our fighters, our business, and our platform. And that's exactly the same for everybody. So you see all these, people need to come together. That no one thinks that. So I would rather come out, and also we were coming in with a platform that no one had ever heard of. So the first thing, and you can imagine the barriers that were put up by other promotional companies. You're gonna leave us and go with an app? Are you mad? This was like what every meeting we had with a fighter. I really like you, Eddie, and but people are telling me no one's gonna watch this thing, and people are telling me that my profile will die, and and that was difficult, really difficult, especially with the pot we had. We had so much money, and we readjusted it. When people say about, they've spent $1 billion, that was $1 billion over 8 years that was actually quite quickly readjusted in terms of how it would be spent more effectively for both our businesses. So we spent a lot of money early in the first year or so, and there was a few fighters that really benefited from that. But you can't come into a marketplace quietly like that with a new platform and just try and work your way in. Maybe it would have been more effective, but I just think it's not my style.
Before we talk about this weekend, other big news from yesterday, Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith, very, very close, Eddie, to winning the purse bid.
Yeah, moles in the camp, apparently, dodgy purse bid. I don't believe in any of that. I just believe in 2 good promotional companies that understand the value of the fight. You have to understand as well, if we're making offers over the last couple of weeks, you kind of know, based on the splits, where the number's going to be. I was so close to bidding 2.2 million. We made our bid based on losing money in that fight. But I was okay with it because I loved the fight and I wanted to get Callum home advantage. But to lose it by 15 grand, I texted him straight after. I was gutted. I don't know whether they capped him out, Beterbiev, on his number, which allows you to bid a little bit more. Callum had no cap on his money, which could have enabled us to bid a little bit more. But when you're only on 30%, that's hard to do, But no, good luck to Top Rank, and they've got 90 days to stage that fight. So we look forward to the date and everything. And Callum gets his shot, but I was gutted. I'm not going to try and dress it up and go, that's all right. I was gutted last night.
Logistically, I mean, that fight to me seems North America, probably Montreal.
Yeah, I believe.
Broadcast-wise, ESPN over there, over here.
Whatever they want to do. I mean, that's the beauty of winning a purse bid. You control the global rights. DAZN would be interested in, I'm guessing, speaking to Top Rank, BT, Sky. I don't know. Could be on any UK broadcaster. It's 4:00 in the morning, but it's still a great fight for the UK. So that's over to them.
Over to this weekend. On the way here in the Uber, I read the main man, Steve Bunce, on Boxing News. Check out your Boxing News, get your subscription, got to get that in already, where he spoke about Julio Cesar Chavez versus Greg Haugen, and kind of it really put you in there, and it made me really, really excited for this weekend. Canelo, John Ryder. I mean, there's going into the Lions then, and then there's fighting Canelo Alvarez in Mexico. From a promoter's perspective, how excited are you for this weekend?
Yeah, again, I have to look back at what we are and where we came from. You know, I've been in boxing around boxing since I was 8. And when I went into boxing, I never thought about promoting in America. I never thought about promoting Canelo Alvarez in Guadalajara. And it's mad how we've ended up here. By hook or by crook, by blag or by skill or by luck or a little bit of everything. But I'm really proud that we're promoting this event. I mean, I think it's going to be an event that lives in the memory of Mexican boxing for a long time. I think people will talk about it forever, like Chavez against Haugen. And I'm also chuffed for John Ryder, who's worked his nuts off throughout his whole career for an opportunity like this. Life-changing opportunity in terms of money, legacy, everything. And he's pretty relaxed, really. I mean, bearing in mind the mountain that he has to climb at the weekend. But he's right up for it. And I don't think he's going to try and just sort of get through the 12 rounds. And I think he's going to put it on him. I think he's going to walk him down. I think he's going to sit on his chest. And I like that fight for him. You know, he's pretty good at that, John. But you've got to get there to do it. But I think if he can make it that kind of fight, it's a good time to fight Canelo, really. I mean, probably not a good time in front of that lot. But in terms of the injury, the surgery, in terms of the performances against Gennady Golovkin and Dmitry Bivol, you know, I think a few question marks. So good luck to him. It's going to be an unbelievable night.
Canelo Promotions being the lead promoter for this event. What's Canelo's contractual status with Matchroom past Saturday night? Just
the rematch clause with Dmitry Bivol that still exists in terms of, you know, the right terms for that fight being presented to Dmitry Bivol. They want me to make that fight for September. This fight is Canelo Promotions and Matchroom, but you know, we weren't naive enough to think that we can come and necessarily have the same impact on the ground here in Guadalajara that we can in Las Vegas, etc. So, you know, we're pleased to be partners with him on this event. We expect to be partners with him against Dmitry Bivol in September, and then we'll see what happens after that. We've done, away from Caleb Plant, we've done his last, I think this is his 6th fight in a spin. You know, we've got a really good relationship. But at the same time, he's going to do what's best for Canelo Alvarez. I think his preference is to work with us. And I'd love to represent him for the rest of his career.
Going to try and fly through little bits on the undercard. Appreciate you. We're on our way over to the press conference. One fight that I'm really, really interested in is Alexander Gvozdyk versus Ricard's Bolotniks. Gvozdyk, of course, now under Eddie Reynoso's management, part of the Canelo team. A great fight that we kind of didn't really see coming.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one. I mean, you've got Julio Cesar Martinez defends his world title. Steve Sparks against Valenzuela. Great fight. I love both guys, especially Sparks. I think he's all action, great entertainment. And then Gvozdyk against Bolotniks, which is a bit of a bizarre one. But Bolotniks, you know, was due to fight Craig Richards. I really felt for him, and this opportunity arose. Great chance for him. And Gvozdyk, who has long been regarded as an elite 175-pounder, ended up in Eddie Reynoso's gym. Eddie Reynoso started training him, speaks so highly of him, and said, "This guy, I'm telling you now, this guy's a serious fighter." And Bolotniks will give us everything we need to know, you know, and Bolotniks is highly ranked with the WBA. I think if Gvozdyk wins this fight, he starts to put himself in a position, you know, maybe a final eliminator with Boatsi or Dan Aziz and maybe even a shot against Dmitry Bivol. So I'm looking forward to seeing that fight, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Just on DAZN ahead of this weekend, I'm due to hopefully catch up with Joe Markowski at some point this week. What do you know about, of course, I mean, I know you weren't involved in it as a promoter, but Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia? Seemed to be a lot of people who tried to pay for the event, got double charged, triple charged. Is there any concerns for you as a promoter of the event this weekend?
Not really. I mean, I don't know a lot about it other than everybody that did pay without receiving it received a refund. There was a technical issue, I think, for some people. And I think that's been clarified, and we don't expect any problems moving forward. So I think a huge amount of pay-per-view buys for that fight, and a great night for DAZN and Showtime. But, you know, probably lessons learned, and it was a few select transactions that end up sounding like, you know, hundreds of thousands of transactions, but they're in a confident position that there'll be no problems this weekend.
I look forward to catching up with Joe Markowski on that. A few bits, any other business before we let you go? Seen Conor Benn around here this week. Of course, he's been training in LA with Tony Sims and, of course, John Ryder ahead of this weekend. What's the latest with him?
Just really up to his neck with UCAD, you know, going through that process. it's difficult. You know, it's confidential, but the media know a lot of it before us. But in that respect, I think everybody's got what they want in terms of that process. There is a chance he could fight June 17th. We don't want to, you know, my concern is him getting a fair hearing. And if you ruffle more feathers, does that affect that further? So we are in constant communication, or he is, with UKAD, and he wants to fight. And there is a chance he could fight June 17. We're announcing our June 17 show maybe this weekend. It would be a smaller fight for Conor Benn if he went on that date. But I'm waiting for an update from his team regarding those conversations to see how that plays out.
Where would that be?
In America.
And you have license, you have everything that you would need for him to participate in an event over there. No concerns?
No. But at the same time, don't want to be in a position that could jeopardise a very important hearing for him that could ultimately allow him to fight anywhere in the world, including Britain.
Final one on kind of Sim's gym, I suppose. Egis Klimas had a few things to say after the Joe Cordina fight. I mean, Egis is not short of an opinion or two, but he made some kind of, I guess, accusations or comments around drug testing for the fight. What was the drug testing for the Joe Cordina fight, and what is the Matchroom Boxing stance on drug testing, be it VADA or whoever in the future?
So we use multiple agencies. We have done for years now. We use VADA and we use Drug Free Sport. Drug Free Sport is, you know, represents a huge number of major organisations in America. I don't want to say them just in case I get it wrong. You can do your research. NFL, NBA, etc. So huge organisation. Same system as VADA, same laboratories as VADA. Cheaper. So it enables us to do more fights for the money. Being honest, that's the situation. For this fight, Drug Free Sport were testing Rakhimov and Joe Cordina throughout the training camp. I believe 4 tests, including UKAD tests. On the night, both UKAD and Drug Free Sport test. Disappointingly, both agencies only tested Joe Cordina. Rakhimov chose, and I don't think it was a bad idea, to go to the hospital. And it's one thing I really don't like about UKAD is they do not follow the fighter to the hospital to test after the fight. And the British Boxing Board of Control, it's not a rule, but generally they don't allow testing for a fighter that goes to the hospital. In my opinion, and VADA would wait for the fighter to be in a position in hospital to test or after. And I was really shocked by Egis Klimas' comments, bearing in mind we paid for all the additional testing layer for that fight, and bearing in mind his fighter didn't even test after the fight. Joe Cordina did UKAD and did Drug Free Sport after the fight. So I was shocked by those comments, but I was even more shocked by his comments about the British Boxing Board of Control and the fight. You know, Joe Cordina was first on the scorecard, right? When you fight in the blue corner of a British Boxing Board of Control event, we don't do the scorecards, by the way. The British Boxing Board of Control print everything, and it's blue corner v red corner. It's not what it says on the poster. It's not the champion. It's home corner v away corner. Joe Cordina was in the blue corner. He was at home. That's why his name was first on the scorecard. So, yeah, interesting comments from Egis, and I got in touch with him straight away. And I said, what? And he was very emotional. You know, I think he went to the hospital. It took the hospital some time to see Rakhimov, and I was like, I don't work at the hospital. You know, we made sure that you got to the hospital. That's the British Boxing Board of Control and their doctors' jobs. They all did the job. They got him there. They tried to get him seen quicker. It's a Saturday night in Cardiff. They assessed him. Obviously didn't feel like he needed emergency treatment. And I can't comment on what the hospital did, but he went to hospital and he didn't drug test after the fight.
What's the testing for this weekend?
VADA, yeah.
Final one from me, because I know we have to get out of here. What's the latest? Are we going to Saudi in December already?
Going well. You know, I was there last week. Look, everything you've read is correct. They're in they feel good about Wilder and Usyk. I don't know how far they've got with Fury. From our point of view, we know them. We've dealt with them on numerous occasions. And we said, we're in. You know, the terms are right for that fight. We accept that fight. We will fight Deontay Wilder in December. And a lot of what looks like early August fight now will be dictated around the decision around that fight. So we expect final terms for that this week or early next week. and we'll make our decision. But bang up for it, and I don't see any reason why that doesn't happen.
Okay, Eddie Hearn, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing News. Catch up with you soon.
Cheers.